campus editor and social media editor for the paper, and I'm joined here this week with...
I'm Anthony Martinez. I'm the photo editor here on the LMC Experience.
And I'm Perry Continente. I'm one of the co-editor-in-chiefs of the paper.
Mm-hmm. Last week we had Lily, who is our other co-editor. This week we got Perry, so but we have the two now.
You sound so disappointed.
We have completed the set.
I want to add too before we actually get into anything. I don't think we even talked about this last time, but we changed locations. So we're not in the newsroom or the
sports office.
The sports office anymore. We're in our archives room.
Yeah, this is the LMC Experience archives room. As you can see, we're surrounded by all these old issues, and the acoustics in here are awesome. Mm-hmm. So
comment below if you think LMC should invest in a couch.
We can't get a couch. We're not getting a couch.
I'm petitioning for one.
No, we can't push couch.
Why not?
Anyway, big story this week was mold. Perry, I believe you experienced this firsthand.
Yes, I did experience the mold firsthand. Let's see. So the music building was shut down briefly because mold was found between two pieces of sheetrock. And there was a big conflict between administration and a lot of the professors in the music building, three of which went to the ER for respiratory illnesses, and that they attributed to both the lack of air conditioning and the mold. But administration maintains that the mold was contained between two pieces of sheetrock and was not in the air. So that is largely what that article is about.
So it is conflicting reports right now?
It is conflicting reports between, yes.
Is there any sort of investigation still going on, or is it pretty much case closed?
It's pretty much case closed. One side says one thing, one side says the other. Yeah.
Mm. Has it been resolved at this point?
At this point, the music building is open. I don't believe that construction is still happening in there. But it is open. It is open for business. Those classes that were canceled are no longer canceled. So.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that's definitely scary. You never want to hear about mold on campus.
Yeah, especially black mold, which is extremely difficult to get rid of. So they gutted the walls to get rid of it.
But even forgetting about the mold for a second, I mean, you even mentioned, I read in the article too, that it got up to higher than 100 degrees, right, in the summertime.
According to Sylvester Henderson, the HVAC unit, which is the air conditioning unit, was being repaired. They were repairing it, and music is hard to move from classroom to classroom because of acoustics, especially for voice and a lot of the instruments. So they were just over the summer. There was, from what I understand, inadequate air conditioning that resulted in it being 100, 110 in there. And even now, if you go, when I was in there discussing with the professors, they had these little air conditioning towers that were, they were more fans than anything. So it was still pretty hot in there. So I could see how during the summer it would be intolerable.
Have they gotten air conditioning up and running now, or are they working on it?
It should be by the end of October, I believe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. It's running behind schedule. They were planning, Alex Porter was telling me that he was planning on getting it done before the year started, but, with these things, there are delays.
Yeah. Well, at least it's something they're finally working on. Because, now that I think about it, I've only had a single class in the newsroom, but it kind of was noticeably hotter than any other class I had that day.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've never had any classes there, so it was interesting to, And it was just in the old section. There is a section that is newer construction, which is where the recital hall is, where the kind of the soundproof rooms are. Those rooms weren't affected, but the main area where a lot of the offices are, that older section was affected.
That makes sense then.
So yeah.
But that, I mean, even still, that's kind of not acceptable then for them to be so long without AC and a lot, I mean, it's a lot of problems, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of many construction projects that they're doing right now, and I think definitely it's the campus taking steps to kind of modernize itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a huge amount. There's the police building. There's that. What is that? The gym and student activities.
The new student center.
That's a massive one, and then the Brentwood Center too, which is going to be several times larger than the current one.
Oh yeah.
The satellite campus, right?
Yeah, the satellite campus.
It's making it less of a satellite, more of a campus.
Yeah, and that'll actually be covered this week by Alex Camilli is writing a story about that. And
the Brentwood Center.
About the Brentwood Center, yeah.
Nice. Another big front page story that we had was Hugo Calderon's story on undocumented students. and he was writing somewhat from his own perspectives, but he also talked to a lawyer at one point, so he talked to a bunch of different people about the experiences of an undocumented student in California attending college. And Anthony, I also believe that you made this art for it. So the story was by Hugo Calderon, and this art was made by Anthony. And so it wasn't our mold was the top front page story, but then we had this here. I'm only opening because I just thought this art was really good.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't say that every week. I think this is the first time I've shown a paper to the camera. I just really thought that was a nice piece. But so Hugo wrote the whole article talking about his experiences and talking about others, and it's definitely kind of an eye-opener.
Yeah, it's something I didn't know very much about, and it was. I think it was well written. I liked it quite a bit, and the art was fantastic too. So really good job on that. We haven't had anything quite like that in the paper, so it's nice to have a little differentiation in our art pieces.
Thank you. Yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of different places, and I'm very happy with the end result. I think it sends a pretty good message. I think one thing though, what I like about Hugo's story is that even as someone who, like, my father was illegal at one point and no longer is, I feel like it really kind of puts things into perspective for me, because a lot of people, once their family members get legalized and all this, they start having like this idea in their mind that they are kind of like better than everyone else. Like, why isn't everyone else legal? Like, you know, like you start seeing things from a more like negative view, and I feel like that story really put me in check, because like there are people who are like really struggling even just to get an education, which is like is basic for other people, you know. It's just, you know, every day.
Yeah, no, definitely a whole another type of experience. Another big story, the last front page story of last week's issue was the United faculty elections that Alex Broom did a nice little write-up on. And so I understand that there was a bit of controversy because, well, not necessarily controversy, but the big topic of it was how much the adjuncts are starting to affect that union. And so, it was Alex Broom, and he did a whole write-up on it, covered the results, and so that was in last week's issue. It's also available online. And then moving on to this perspectives page, we had a bunch of different ones. We also had a couple guest columns, which I always enjoy seeing guest columns.
Yeah, it's important to remember that anyone can write in a guest column to the experience, and we value having outside views. A lot of our best columns and some of the most illuminating stuff have come from outside sources, you know, from views we normally wouldn't get.
I agree.
Yeah. On campus page, so Letitia Robles wrote a story about the new United by Dreams Club. This kind of ties into the same themes as that front page story on undocumented students. This is a new club meant to sort of unite and be a public forum for undocumented students or dreamer students. But the other thing that I actually saw in the article is that the club president said you don't have to be undocumented, or you don't have to be a dreamer student to join. Anybody can join. He said, this was the quote, he said, oh shoot, it's on the jump page, sorry guys. He said, everybody has a dream to become something in life, and I hope this club unites everybody who wants to live that dream and reach for it. Yeah, so it's meant to be a place of solidarity, a sort of forum for dreamer students, but I guess it's also just a place to come together and just sort of have support for your goals as a student at LMC. And we're seeing a lot of clubs like that recently, and they talk about that in the article too.
That's great. I like to see a more diverse campus, you know. I think it really helps out.
And just having space for students of any and all type of students, whether it's recurring students or undocumented students or just out of high school students, just being able to have a space kind of for them to come together and talk about those things and work through what they're going through. Because not just clubs, but also the counseling initiatives and all sorts of stuff, you're definitely seeing a lot more of that being pushed on as like a big initiative by the campus. I remember that, a big initiative by the campus to have students have those resources and have those spaces. Another big, on features, Perry, you started your Oktoberfest series.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So it has been, I believe we have, what's the word I'm looking for? We have concluded previously on the podcast that I am pretentious, and I do not deny this. It is true. And one of the things I'm most pretentious about is beer. So I have a series this month, about Oktoberfest. So I'm featuring local breweries, really smaller scale stuff that have kind of a local angle. And the first one is the Martinez Brewery, Five Sons. I was really impressed by them. Going in, I knew nothing about them. But it was just like such an interesting and welcoming atmosphere. The entire place had this like beautiful woodwork and incredibly friendly staff. They, I really noticed, and I thought that it was a really nice touch that they had these all-gender bathrooms that were very clearly labeled as such. It has a very local feel, a very welcoming feel, and their beer is fantastic. I mean, one of their double IPAs was really atypical in that it was very reserved in kind of its flavor profile. It was kind of almost lemongrassy and went down really smooth, like a much lighter beer, but was still complicated and didn't have that really bitter finish that is, kind of indicative of the style. It worked really well, and I haven't really tasted a beer quite like it. Yeah, and also there was a farmer's market outside there the day I went, which was Sunday, so that was a great place to get food too. I had a smoked salmon. They had like a smoked salmon fillet that was just like fantastic. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful day. The one this week is going to be about EJ Fair, which is a Pittsburgh brewery and
this one
pizzeria.
We've been to a couple times at a staff. I'm not of age, but their pizza's great.
Yeah, their pizza is great. And
so never invite me.
Nah, sorry.
Come on, man.
But yeah, that one should be fun, and it is interesting with Five Sons seeing downtown Martinez. Really, you could do a really awesome pub crawl there between them, Del Cielo, which is going to be, I think, part 3 of my series, and this other bar, Barrelista. The downtown is really revitalized, and just the food and drink down there has gotten great, which is just nice for me to see. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. If you had to give Five Sons a rating, 1 to 5, 1 to 5 Sons.
Oh, that's difficult.
Just off the top of your head. Would you at least recommend it? Pass, fail?
I would. Oh, totally. Total pass. 100% pass. Most of the beers I had there were great. The only one I disliked was this amber ale that they used. I think they used like this kind of crystalline sugar. That's this kind of like candied powder sugar that's sometimes used in the brewing process.
So it had a sweeter taste?
It was sweeter, but it had this kind of chalky aftertaste, and it kind of ruined the mouthfeel. So that was the only one that was kind of a miss for me, and that's one that they feature. So maybe I just had a bad glass of it, but that was the only one that I had a really negative reaction to. But the rest of it, they had a blonde that was fantastic, a blonde ale that was fantastic. They had a, what was that? One of their pale ales was great. Their stout was like very workmanlike. I mean, there was nothing in there that was super out of left field, but it was just a really solid coffee and chocolate bomb. It was a great, I would give it a 4.5. And also they have a food there that they source from local restaurants. So
you did tell me a little bit about this, where it's almost kind of like they order it for you, and then it gets shipped to the restaurant while you're there.
Yeah, which I think is just a really interesting way to, without having to put in a kitchen, without having to put in all these prep areas.
Still offering a food menu.
Still offering like a pretty upscale food menu. There's like a burger there that's from like a local bistro that's higher end. They have pad thai from they have pad thai from a Vietnamese place there. They're just or Vietnamese. Thai. From a Thai place. Oh my, I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say, but I wasn't there, so I didn't. maybe they pulled it off. But so definitely a diverse menu then.
Yeah.
From all over the city.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend it.
Speaking of diversity, that like as far as anything, because I mean it is Oktoberfest. Have you noticed any sort of German celebrations or anything German, like culture, atmosphere related in the
just around?
you go? Yeah.
In the round, yeah. There's Oktoberfest that are popping up everywhere. I know there's going to be one in Brentwood. There's going to be like I think 2 different pub crawls. So you can find pub crawls pretty much anywhere. They've been largely stripped of the German influence. There's not a lot of German culture. It's sort of like St. Patrick's Day, in that it's just an excuse to drink, and there's very little. The one in downtown Brentwood, I think they have bratwurst and pretzels, and they do have kind of a German element to it. But a lot of them are just there's nothing remotely German about them,
Except for the drinking.
Except for the drinking beer, which is very German.
So if you are of age and this place sounds interesting, that is Five Sons Brewing in Martinez. Or if you're not of age and you just want to be able to eat from 5 different restaurants at once, because you can do that now. Five Sons Brewing in Martinez.
They've got board games. I saw kids there, so they let like kids with parents, not just
When
like
you just-
not like 12-year-olds. There wasn't like a gang of 12-year-olds there, but it's
Charging you an entry fee.
Yeah, it's child friendly, so you can, if you're under 21, you can still order food and yeah.
Yeah, I should go there.
So now you have no excuse to not take me.
They are only open Friday through Sunday though.
Ooh,
Which
that
is
kinda
Oh, okay.
it's they're home brewers and they have jobs Monday through Friday. So they're like it was founded in 2017, so they're really in the early stages of getting everything going.
You gotta respect the side hustle.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I totally respect it. And but because of that, their operating hours are fairly limited.
How's pricing go?
Pricing is really low actually.
Really?
There you can get a 5-ounce taster for $2, which is like that's a fair amount of beer for $2. And their pints run about $6, which is little. It's about average for craft beer, and you're definitely getting a good deal. So yeah.
And we're getting full use out of you this week. The other review you were part of was that Nito review in Oakland.
Yes.
Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Okay. So Nito's is kind of an upscale Mexican restaurant in Oakland. I myself, Jesus Cano, and Alex Broom went for both their happy hour, which is tacos and margaritas, and for dinner. And we were very impressed with the happy hour. I mean, the tortillas are homemade. Everything there is homemade. Their chips and guacamole are unbelievable. It elevates the dish. You know, even the chips are homemade, which is just, you know, awesome. And the tacos were like not necessarily entirely classic, but they were, you know, a lot of stewed meats.
Good,
they were
and that's what
incredible.
counts.
They were stewed meats with like pickled onions and like cool stuff like that. They're $3 a taco, but they're relatively large tacos. It's a great deal. And also they had these $6 mezcal margaritas that were like incredibly strong and like featured the smokiness of mezcal while still being like really drinkable. Probably the best economical cocktail I've ever had. Like money for flavor and alcohol, it's you can't do better than that. And then we went for dinner, and we had we had carnitas, which was like their carnitas plate that was like pork done in a bunch of different ways. Like there was pork cheek, there were like chicharrones, it was just like all these different types of pork, and unfortunately it was like a mixture of textures that didn't really work, and it was a little bit slimy in the cheek, and it was a pretty subpar dish. And also we had a side that were these tacos with that like inexplicably the meat had like a skewer through them, and it just like this little smattering of lettuce. And these tacos it was $13 for 2 tacos. And it was significantly worse than the $3 tacos we had earlier. So dinner was fairly disappointing. I have been there on other occasions where it was fantastic though. Like, so their dinner, in my experience, is either going to be like some next level amazing stuff. Like I had some chicken mole there that was unbelievable. Best chicken dish I've ever had. Or just, you know, slightly disappointing. So that was it was unfortunate, but overall it is a fantastic restaurant. And if you're in the area for that happy hour, you cannot miss it. I mean, it is.
And that's Nito.
That's Nito in Oakland.
Nido.
Nido means nest in Spanish. Yes.
Oh, that's.
And their building's beautiful. They have this mural going around the entire thing. It's gorgeous. There's like pieces of shipping container inside.
Oh wow! That's how you know it's real.
That's how you know it's real.
Pieces of shipping container.
Yeah.
Where's it by? Is it like by downtown? Or?
It's sort of like by Jack London Square.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's Jack London Square is the one in Oakland. Yeah. It's pretty near there.
Yeah.
Just great place overall. Highly recommended. Their mixed drink menu, like they have a mezcal list that's like 3 pages. So if you like mezcal at all, it is like the place to go. Yeah.
And then one other big review we had, don't worry, you weren't on it.
It
It wasn't you. It was Alex Camille's review of Reduxer, which was the new album by Alt J. Well, new in a sense. So he described it to me as a new as like a new take on a live album, or a new take on a deluxe edition album, where they took one of their old albums and they had it, because they're mostly a rock band, so they took one of their older albums and they remixed it as a hip-hop album by getting a bunch of different feature artists.
Okay, so they sampled their own previous works?
Yeah, in a way.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I actually haven't listened to too much of this band, but I read through Alex's review and I talked to him about it in person, and I thought it was really cool. It's a really cool concept.
Yeah, Alt J is super interesting. They're the ones who did that song Breeze Blocks that kind of took off a few years ago. Very alt sensibilities. I haven't listened to their new album either, but it does sound very interesting.
The other coolest thing is that while I was proofreading Alex's copy, and then I was like, okay, I need to look this up, and I need to like figure out, because the other thing is that they spell the alt in their name is with a lowercase a. So I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. So I had to look up their website to figure out how they stylize their own name. But I also saw that to advertise the new album, they made a Flash adventure game on their website. I'm not kidding.
That's amazing.
I'm not
The
kidding.
superhero?
No,
No.
not the Flash. Like the Flash, like the software.
Oh,
It
yeah?
probably wasn't in
Okay.
Flash. It was
Alright,
probably
yeah.
in Unity because Flash is dead now. But no, so they actually made a PC adventure game on their website where you are walking around in this weird, trippy acid void, and the music from the album is playing in the background, and you can like walk up to people and it'll like teleport you to a video on an album where it's either like the music video or like a behind the scenes track. That's the coolest marketing stunt I have ever seen.
So it's like LSD Dream Simulator.
That's what it struck me as. Yes.
But, okay, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's like giving the listeners an opportunity to visualize what they were visualizing, maybe
Yes.
in a way.
Yeah, and it's like that's what I would do as a musician. I would make a game to promote my album, to promote my book, to promote my movie.
I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself, but
Stay tuned for that
you
one.
got to
Watch
build
out.
up to that, Robbie.
Next episode.
Next
Yeah.
episode.
But yeah, so that was Reduxer by Alt J is the new album.
I'll definitely check it out. I'm interested now. I didn't hear about this before.
Yeah, just look at their website.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And then, so that's pretty much all we had for this week. The next week's issue, this Friday's issue. So we got a couple interesting things coming up. I'm supposed to be talking with Professor Jeff Mitchell-Matthews on Wednesday. He actually has, and I just went and saw him a couple minutes ago, he has an archive of, from starting with the 90s, if not almost every issue that the Experience has put out that had an article dealing with LGBTQ issues or struggles or stories. He has them all archived and earmarked and curated on everything we've ever said about the LGBTQ community. And so I'm supposed to be talking with him tomorrow just to kind of walk through it and just see kind of retrospective of how our coverage on that topic has kind of shifted. Because again, starting in the 90s, where the climate was a lot different than it is today, a lot less
Oh, yeah.
accepting. So definitely, but just really interesting just to have that curated of an archive about any topic that spans that amount of time. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, so we're actually, I talked to Lily about it, our other co-editor, and we're actually thinking of kind of implying that into the artwork also. So, you know, the whole collection of, you know, previous artworks that have been done for, you know, the
LGBTQ.
TQ, sorry, community. We're gonna like try to, you know, maybe collaborate those photos, and we're gonna try to make it look like a, you know, we're just gonna try to make it look like, you know, a collab, you know, and we're gonna try to make it, you know, more like retro maybe or something like that. So definitely look forward to the artwork on that one. I think it should be something to look forward to.
And that's coming out this Friday. And some other stories that I saw were coming out was we've got an update on deconstruction. We've got around campus. We've got the LMC staff softball game, which Perry was showing me some of the photos
Yeah.
that might be coming out for that.
That one was pretty cool.
Definitely check out the physical issue. I think we're going to have some pretty good art. And then, of course, a bunch of different updates on upcoming and current campus events. Books Alive
Yeah.
was a big one. That's coming soon. So just a ton of great stuff. And so that's coming out on Friday. And as always, stories come out online at lmcexperience.com. And you can follow our Twitter and Instagram. Both are LMC_experience. You can follow those for around-the-clock coverage and articles links. And that's all the time we had for this week. So until next time, I'm Robert Pierce.
I'm Anthony Martinez.
I'm Perry Continente.
And this has been Back Talk. Thank you for watching.